Manny here once again. Welcome back to DFS Zone, your source for daily fantasy sport lineup advice for the NFL and NBA. Got a brand new video for you guys today. I'm going to discuss some possible under the radar sneaky sleeper plays this week for week 5 of the NFL. These are players that at least I'm going to have some exposure to. I think that they're a little bit, like I said, under the radar, not going to be highly owned, but can be a bit risky. And of course, that's what you need if you really want to squeeze out and win $1 million or have a nice GPP lineup. So before I get started with the video, man, I appreciate you guys. Drop a like on the video. And if you're new to the channel and you want to be able to get your NFL and NBA content on a regular basis all throughout the NFL season, as well as the NBA season, every single game is going to be covered. The main slates will always be a video. And on top of that, I do have live shows. I have a live show for the NFL every Saturday night where we discuss the main slate, game stacks, team stacks, injury report. We gauge any value plays. We discuss the 4 p.m. slate, the 4:30 express slate, even sometimes the Sunday, Monday. We discuss whatever it is pertaining to NFL Saturday night. So come on down and join the community and be a part of that live show. We also will be conducting live shows for the NBA 1 hour before lock, at least 4 times a week. I would say right now about 4 times a week. Got to free in some time for family and for my helping out my kids with schoolwork and so on. But I will do everything I can to be on live as much as possible. I really do enjoy it. So if you want to be a part of that, join the team, become a part of the community, join the DFS Zoners, and let's try to make some money together. All right, guys? With that, again, definitely subscribe down below. Put on your post notifications if you don't want to miss out on any of those videos, any of those live shows. And that's pretty much it, man. Let me get right to it. All right. We have some possible sleeper plays. I'm going to share with you a couple of players I really like, and I'm going to tell you a couple of reasons why I like them. At quarterback this week, I really like the matchup for, and I believe he's not going to be highly owned. I just can't see him being highly owned. Marcus Mariota. I like Marcus Mariota here in this game here. I mean, granted, his numbers don't look great. I mean, he's been injured. I think now he's finally 100%. We know the talent that he has. They drafted him #1 for a reason. They want him to be a part of the future for this team. And he's a dual threat quarterback, guy that moves well with his feet, can't throw on the run, and he's willing to tuck it in and get that extra yards as well. So he is pretty much schooled well all the way around. Last week had a solid game against Philadelphia, but then again, almost everybody has been with Philadelphia thus far this year. But 30 of 43, 344 yards, 2 touchdowns and an interception. On top of that, he also ran for 10 for 46 yards and 1 touchdown. He did fumble the ball once. 31.36 is a pretty high number for Mariota. I don't expect him to go and put those type of numbers up every week, but he definitely has a shot this week to get 20 or better, and I believe he will. He's about an 18-19 on average from last season, so I really like the opportunity here. 14.7 thus far this year. As you can see, he had these 2 games. He had an injury. There was a game or 2 where he was like playing only a few minutes a game. He was sharing the time with Gambert. I don't know what that was all about. Obviously, I was not in favor of all of that, but he is back. He's in charge, and he looked pretty darn good last week. Let's see how he pans out this week. I think he's in a great matchup. He's going up against Buffalo. They're 16th pass defense in the league thus far. They've been coughing up 69% completion percentage to the opposition's quarterback. So he's definitely in line for a good possibility to be able to complete a number of passes here. 263 yards per game, 8 TDs. The opponent's quarterbacks have been rushing 20 rushes for 79 yards, and they have given up 19.8 DK and 19.1 Fanduel points thus far this year. And what I like also is that Marcus Mariota is starting to really build a good connection with Mr. Davis and Mr. Taylor, his 2 wideouts. Remember, Tennessee is probably more a run-oriented team. They'll like to base their run and then spread it out, and then obviously do play action and utilize Davis. They're not a tight end based offense, so this way the tight end doesn't reach. So we really know that the targets are going to come either from the backfield or from the 2 wideouts or from the slot position. So I definitely like Davis, and as well as Mr. Taywan Taylor as well this week, which I'll discuss in a moment. But Marcus Mariota, now one of the reasons why, I got a couple of points why I had to dig in deeper into this game to see if I really like Marcus Mariota, because like I said at the beginning, I'm definitely gonna have some exposure to him. I'm gonna have him in at least 2 of my lineups for the main slate, and as well as the 1 o'clock slot. I think you got to take at least a stab at it. And I'm one of those GPP players that I'm willing to do it every single week. So Marcus, definitely someone I'm gonna definitely target this week. And the reasons why, man. First of all, Buffalo has had issues in time management. Time of possession thus far this year, they've been giving up 31.5, almost 32 minutes of the possessions of the game has been taken over by the opponent. So they're having a rough time keeping the ball in their side of the field as far as offensively. Another thing that I also like is first downs allowed. Buffalo's giving up 22 first downs a game while Tennessee's only coughing up 19. So that's an advantage of 3 additional possible possessions for Marcus Mariota and more possible fantasy points for him as well as Mr. Davis and Taylor. So that's another reason why. My second point is third down opportunities. Buffalo's given up 6. They have let opponents convert 6 times third downs while Tennessee is only allowing 4. So there is another possibility there to get additional more touches with the football and more time of possession. So I kind of, that automatically I'm starting to gauge and you're starting to get an idea that, hey, you know, more than likely Tennessee, if they do everything right, and on top of that, I already chose Tennessee as one of my defenses for this week, that I think they will be able to neutralize Josh Allen and that, you know, subpar receiving corp that they have. I do see Tennessee being able to make it difficult for Allen, and that will also bring in more opportunities for Mariota and company to be able to utilize that time to put up more fantasy points. So all that in mind, as well as fourth down conversions, Buffalo is only converting 50% of the time, Tennessee 71% of the time. So if they go for it on fourth down, they are basically 21% better than Buffalo is. That also leads me to believe that there will be more opportunities for the offense here for Tennessee and for all the players involved in the offensive side, including Marcus Mariota, Davis, and Taylor, and as well as Henry and Dion Lewis. So you got to consider all those guys other than the tight end. So, I mean, that's where I'm at. Those are the reasons why I really like the matchup for Marcus Mariota. I really think he's going to be in a good spot. And that leads me to believe that you got to pair him up with one of his wideouts. So when you think of their wideouts, you got to think of Davis and you got to think of Taylor. And they both are going to be in good possible positions here. Corey Davis, last week he had 15 targets, if I remember correctly. Yes, 9 receptions, 161 yards. Is he going to have that every week? No. Okay. But in this particular week, I do see that he is going to be, listen, he's one of the main targets for Mariota, as well as Taylor. They're the 2 key guys here. So if it's not going to be Davis, and like I said, I'm going to have exposure to Davis with Mariota, and I'm going to have also exposure with Mariota with Mr. Taylor. So either or. If you want to go Corey Davis, he's 6,400. He's 6,300 on DK. I think he's a better deal here. Obviously, DK is too pricey. But Mr. Taylor is 4K on DK and 5 here. So either way you want to go. But let's go over his numbers a little bit, right? He's been poor with his catch percentage, but then again, he has had 2 different quarterbacks, sometimes 2 quarterbacks in one game. Can't really get any timing, any good camaraderie between 2 players like that when you have that kind of, you know, you have to deal with one quarterback. All of a sudden now you got Gambert, all of a sudden you got Mariota, and then one day you have Gambert and Mariota behind center. It's just terrible. I wasn't in favor of that at all, but 56% catch percentage for him. He does have a 51-yard reception this year, which is fantastic here to see. 39 targets, only, like I said, 22 receptions, but he has 78 yards per game, and he has 1 TD. And we know that he's capable of breaking one. He had a 51-yarder, like I mentioned. And again, all that information I just shared with you about Buffalo, same scenario. 16th ranked defense against the pass, 263 yards. Against wide receivers, they've given up 160 out of that 263, and they've given up 4 touchdowns to the wide receivers out of the 8. So that means the other 4 have come from running backs. 37.8 DK and 29.6 Fanduel points. Definitely love that. They are actually, surprisingly, statistically, on fantasy points, they're actually better than Philadelphia. Philadelphia, Tennessee's opponent last week, is coughing up 48 and 37.6 fantasy points to wide receivers. But I still think that they have an awesome opportunity here, especially time of possession. If they're able to march downfield, utilize the time, spread the love a little bit here with Henry as well as Dion Lewis, and then utilize Corey Davis and Taiwan Taylor, I think Tennessee's going to be just fine. So again, you can go with Taylor, you could go with Davis, excuse me, or you can go right over to Mr. Taylor. I'll go through him real quickly as well, because again, it's against Buffalo, and I feel that you have to have some sort of correlation between the receiver with the quarterback in this matchup. So Taiwan Taylor, 9 targets last week, 7 receptions, 77 yards. He's starting to get a little bit more receptions. Now he's locking in with Mariota. It's either one of these two are going to go off. Like I said, he's 5K here. He's 4K on DK, 11.2 and 10.7. I can see him. It's obviously his floor is not too high, not too good. But then again, he's capable of getting you 11 or 12, as you can see here. And I can see him getting another 7 receptions or so this week. And that may lead to a possible touchdown. If he can get a touchdown and get at least 7 or 8 receptions for about 80, 90 yards, you got yourself a 15, 16 fantasy point game for Taywan Taylor. So I think he's a very sneaky play here, someone that definitely you can consider in a favorable matchup against Buffalo. All right. Next, I'm going to go back now because I've discussed it. Like I said, so I am on all Mariota with Taylor as well as Davis, and I am not at all opposed to utilizing all 3 in one lineup if you wanted to, just to take a, just roll the dice on it. I am more in favor of it. When we come to running back, you could very easily, in the same game, go LaShawn McCoy. You could go Henry or Lewis. The only thing about Henry and Lewis, I have an idea already. They like running Henry between the tackles, and they like utilizing Dion Lewis from the backfield as a receiver. So they're kind of using the same format as Washington as well as New England, with their running backs. I seen that working. I don't know. You could go, like I said, they could be sleepers here, Dion Lewis or Derrick Henry. You can go that route. But I'm more in favor of let me just get out of here, sorry. I like the scenario for Baltimore's Javaris Allen. He's 5,400 here, and he's 4,700 on DK. I like that he's obviously they're utilizing him as a dual threat. I love him in the red zone. They definitely go to him in the red zone quite a bit. But I can see, as you can see here, he's had 26 receptions, 62 yards, 3 touchdowns, averaging 15.5 yards per game. And I said receptions. I apologize. I mean rushes. He's had also 21 targets receiving, 15 receptions for 87 yards and 1 touchdown. So he's had 4 touchdowns so far this year in 4 games, 3 of them rushing, 1 of them receiving. I like the factors that, as you can see here, his floor is probably about 6 or 7, but at least gauging out of the fantasy points thus far. But you look here, he's capable of getting 16, and I think the longest he can get in the end zone, what I like also is that he's gotten on the end zone almost in every game at least one time, and he was able to get in one game twice with the passing game as well. And he's being utilized on both sides of the offense as far as being a receiver and a running back. Obviously, we know that Alex Collins is the lead back, but Javaris Allen definitely gets his share of touches, and that's what we want to see. He got 12 touches in the last game, 10 the previous, 13 the previous, and 10 during early in the year. So he's averaging about 10, 11 touches a game. If they give this guy 13 to 15 touches, he may just possibly get you 15 fantasy points or better, and he's capable of getting you a touchdown every time he gets in the red zone. In the red zone, speaking of the red zone, 8 rushes in the red zone, 10 yards, 3 TDs. He's had 4 rushes and 4 yards inside the 10 for 3 touchdowns. So pretty much he's been just as efficient in the 10-yard line than he has been at the 20. No different. Going up against Cleveland, they're the 22nd ranked defense, giving up 116 yards per game to running backs. And they're also the 22nd ranked pass defense. So if you want to look at it on both sides of the ball, they are vulnerable on both ends of it. 20 receptions and 196 yards to running backs. They haven't given up any touchdowns, but they have given up their 28.8 DK points and 24.5 Fanduel points. So again, I love the whole idea. And in the red zone, Cleveland has allowed almost 60% conversion on opportunities by the opposition. Opponents are averaging 4 opportunities in the red zone, and they're coming away with 2 touchdowns and a field goal on a regular basis. So definitely an opportunity for the Baltimore Ravens here, and they have been taking advantage, going in there about 70% of the time in the red zone. So I definitely see Mr. Landry as a Mr. Allen as a possible great play here. The next guy I'm going to speak about is a tight end, and I'm going to base the tight end basically. I like the Cincinnati tight ends, man. We know that Tyler Eifert is gone for the year with that gruesome injury last week. And I felt so bad for the kid because he's been battling injuries off and on a few times over the last few years. And you can see that he is an integral part of the offense, and they really want to get him involved. And he is capable of I think he's probably top 8 in the league as far as being a tight end. And now all of a sudden he's down again for the entire year. Such a shame, man. But I think CJ Uzuma May Uzuma, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. I believe I am. CJ Uzuma as well as Tyler Croft. They're both in play here as a possible sleeper, sneaky play here. CJ, I think, is more in favor. I think he is definitely the one that's going to get more of the targets. He's here at 4,700 on Fanduel and 2,900 on DK. He is definitely a good price on DK. It's a good price here as well for a sneaky play. Again, not a whole lot to go by, but when he's been on the field and he's had opportunities, quick, athletic, good hands, as you can see. His catch percentage is up there in the high 80s, maybe 90%. What he's had here? He's had 8 targets, and he's had 7 receptions. So you figure whatever, 90%. 71 yards total, 18.5 yards per game. Pretty not too bad, man. Again, we're not getting a whole lot here. Again, this is supposed to be a sleeper, very sneaky, possible play here. We know that Cincinnati likes their offense. Their offense revolves around the backfield, the dual threat backs. They got Mixon coming back this week, and now they're going to have to utilize CJ as well, taking those snaps and those targets from that are being left behind by Tyler Eifert. You could also see Tyler Croft be in there as well. Sometimes they utilize the dual tight end sets, so there's a possibility for Tyler. I would go either or, but I definitely favor CJ. I think he's the one they're going to target more, as the one is going to get the targets that they would normally be giving to Tyler Eifert. So CJ for me, man, it's definitely a fine play, a nice little sneaky play here. Miami comes in 24th in pass defense, 285 yards per game given up. Only 5 TDs, which is pretty darn good. They're going up against Cincinnati, who's the 14th best offense in the NFL, putting up 11 touchdowns. So we know some touchdowns are going to be scored here. 283 yards per game. Now, granted, they haven't faced too many teams with a good offense, and that's something that you got to remember here. And this is the reasons why I think Cincinnati is going to do well here against Cleveland. And at the same time, I think that CJ is going to get his chances to be able to get some touches. Versus tight ends directly, 20 receptions, 226 yards. So out of the 285 they give out, they've been giving up quite a bit to tight ends as well. They haven't given up any touchdowns to tight ends, but nonetheless, I'm not too concerned with that, but I would love to see CJ. I think he's capable of maybe getting one in this game. He already has had 1 touchdown this year. 10.7 DK points at 8.2 Fanduel points given up by Cleveland. Again, this position, tight end, normally not a lot of fantasy points built out of, but I still think that a guy like this is more than capable of getting you at least those 9 to 10 fantasy points. He's averaging 4, and he's going to get more targets now. I think he could double that, get about 8 or 9. If he was to get 10 or better, he'll probably pretty much will meet value, and especially if he crosses the goal line and gets a touchdown. So CJ Uzama, I think, is definitely someone that everybody should consider this week. And that's pretty much it, man. Some quick guys. They're not guarantees. They're low. They're going to be low owned, that's for sure. And a lot of the number of these guys that I just mentioned, they're definitely not going to be on people's radar. Another guy that I would mention real quickly is Mr. Grant for Jacksonville. Just in case, I think I heard that T.Y. Hilton is going to play. It still says questionable here. T.J. Yeldon. If T.J. Yeldon does not play, I love Corey Grant here as a possible sleeper. I mean, I'm sure he's going to be more highly owned, especially, well, there'll be more people utilizing Mr. Grant this week if Yeldon is gone, but I think he'll definitely be a fine play as well. So keep that in mind. And like I said before, Derrick Henry as well as Dion Lewis, or even LaShawn McCoy for Buffalo at 6,300, and I think he's like 4,900 or 4,800 on DK is very cheap for McCoy, who was 2 or 3 years ago was probably one of the top 5 or 6 backs in the league as far as yards per game and yards per carry. So definitely someone to consider there. The injuries has definitely set him back, but supposedly he's 100%. He's healthy to go for this weekend for Buffalo. So consider him as well as one of the players on Tennessee. That's pretty much all I got for you guys, man. Drop a like on the video, share the video, let people know about DFS Zone. If you have not subscribed, please do so down below, so this way you don't lose out on any of the new videos for the NFL and the NBA, and of course the live shows. And with that, I wish you guys a lot of luck this weekend, and I'll see you guys on the next